So thanks, James, for sharing a great presentation of our AS. And now we understand the school much better, much more. And so could you talk a bit about yourself as a person? We can get to know your personal life in Johor.
Yeah, no problem. So I moved to Johor a little over a year ago. I live in a neighborhood not too far from school. I love it here in Johor. It's a very family-oriented town. So, not too crazy, very safe for kids, lots of activities to do, lots of sports and leisure activities. So it's never a dull day here in Johor. And also the weather. I actually used to live in KL, and I felt KL was hot all the time, but Johor has a really nice breeze all the time, or at least for the most part. And then the rainy season, it gets quite cool here. So it's very, very nice weather.
Enjoyable weather, yeah. Less island effect.
Yes, I love it. And yeah, of course, having, a nice tall condo with a great view of downtown Johor Bahru and then Singapore across the strait there. It's definitely great place to be and great place to live. So
lovely. And Grace, I understand you've been trying to collect a lot of questions from the parents. Could you bring up now, because we have James, we can have his intelligence directly answer all the puzzles that parents would have.
Yes, actually we have gathered some questions already, James. Just wonder, for the RAS itself, why would RAS choose Johor as a school campus? Is there any particular reason?
I think we chose Johor for our location because there's so much potential down here, and there's already a lot of things here. So there's potential and there's things already in place, which is a great combination. You have the proximity to Singapore, which has an incredible international airport and amenities over there. Johor Bahru is the cultural and economic center of the state of Johor, and it's also the second largest metropolitan region in Malaysia. So there's lots of international businesses, a lot of international families. So it just seems like a natural choice to have an international school here that caters to, people from around the world that are here working, living, doing their thing here. So I think Johor, the biggest thing is the potential, the potential for growth and the potential to create a real long-lasting community where kids come back 10 20 years from now, they come to see their old campus and to see how Johor has changed and grown, because every year it's growing.
Yeah, wow, that's great. And from what you said just now, it seems that quite a number of like a mix, like international mix in the country, in the city and also in the school. Is it correct?
Yes, it's very diverse. In our school, I couldn't name off all the nationalities because I don't want to take too much time on that one question, but there's kids from, basically every continent on Earth except for Antarctica, of course. No penguins here. So
no penguins. I love it. No kangaroo.
Yeah. So we have Americans, we have Australians, we have Europeans, we have South Americans, we have people from the Middle East. We have people from all over Asia, a lot of Koreans, Japanese, people from mainland China, Hong Kong as well, Southeast Asia as well, people moving around. So you walk into a classroom and you see a group of 5 students, and most of them know 2 or 3 languages, and they've had, a different cultural upbringing from each other, but they're collaborating and working together and sharing. And that's probably the most rewarding thing for me working at an international school, is seeing how kids can develop into global citizens so young, and how I didn't even leave the US, or at least my region of the world, until I was in my 20s. And these kids, they have so much more experience than I did when I was at their age. And it's a really rewarding thing, and I think it's a beautiful thing. I think these kids are going to grow up to be really interesting people.
Yeah, they would embrace different cultures and know how to respect and bring in more positive energies in their life, and starting from kindergarten. Lovely. I love that too.
So just now we saw your presentation regarding the boarding options. So what is the particular, or how is the boarding life? How would you describe that?
Boarding life, I would say it's definitely a great choice for kids that want to focus on school, want to really, pour themselves into their studies, want to be integrated in the school community. The boarding kids, they're a very tight-knit group. They do a lot of activities together. They spend their weekends together. And the only time they go home are during the long school breaks. And so they have a lot of activities that only the boarding kids do, especially on the weekends. They'll have they can use all the facilities on campus. So maybe they'll go rock climbing in the morning, and then they'll go have lunch, and then they'll go swimming in the pool. And then after that, they'll go play soccer once, the weather cools down a little bit for the day. And then maybe they just kind of do their own thing. They can go around campus and, take pictures of the flowers and the forest and the monkeys across the street. So there's lots of fun things for the boarding kids to do on campus. And as far as I can see from the boarding kids I've had in my classes or the kids I see at lunch, they're very tight with each other. They're very, very tight knit and
bonding. The bonding is so strong. Okay.
So what is the school hours? And also, you just mentioned about the lunch. So I think parents are very concerned of what their kids eat as well. So it's international cuisine or what?
Yeah. Okay. Well, you just asked me like 3 questions right there. So I'll try to. So the kids should be on campus by 7:50 a.m. Their classes start at 8, but they should be on campus at 7:50, to get in the room, unpack their bags, get settled, because, we don't want to waste any time with that and all the chaos in the morning. So the kids will get in around 7:50, and then they finish classes, their regular classes, at 3 o'clock. Okay, but this is different for the preschool kids. They finish earlier. They finish at 1. Yeah.
Okay. And
so
then for the lunch.
Yes. Okay, so and then also when we have after school activities, the kids finish after 4 o'clock. So if they have, say they're in like a soccer club, or they're in like a basketball program or the swimming team, then they would stay for another hour after school and then finish, sometime after 4.
Gotcha.
So as far as the food goes, so the kids, the regular day students, not the boarding students, they get a morning snack, then they get a full lunch meal, and then they have an afternoon snack as well.
Okay.
So as far as the food options are, this is the first school I've worked at where most of the teachers stay and eat the school lunch, because school lunch, it's like school lunch or going out to a restaurant. Usually, teachers will opt for the restaurant, but luckily we have a restaurant here on campus, our canteen. So there's always a Western option, there's always an Asian option, and there's always a vegetarian option. So the students always have a choice, the teachers always have a choice, and more often than not, they opt to eat the school lunch because it is delicious, nutritious, and there's lots of variety.
Nice. So I should visit you.
Yes,
during lunch hour.
You should definitely visit. One of my favorite things that the chef makes is a Sri Lankan eggplant salad. It's like an eggplant. It's a cold eggplant salad with like lots of cumin and cilantro and coriander. So that's one of my favorite things. They also have like steak all the time. Sometimes it's fajitas, so like steak tacos, or sometimes it's like steak with like baked potatoes, like more of like a traditional like European style setup. And then the chicken is always great. Always got some regular baked chicken or Thai chicken. I could talk about the school food all day.
Thai is my favorite.
That's great. And how about the school break or school term?
School breakers. Okay. So the school year is broken down into 2 semesters with 2 terms in each semester. So 4 terms, 2 semesters, and 2 terms per semester. So in between each term, there is a break. So there's a fall break in October, and then there is a winter break in December, and that's a little bit longer. So the October break is a week. That's the fall break. Then we have the winter break, which is around 3 weeks. So from the end of December until the beginning.
Very similar to Hong Kong.
Very
similar. International school in Hong Kong, they have October like reading week, and then the December one, what we called the Christmas holidays. So longer.
And then the next one would be spring break. So that's in March. And then the following break would be the summer break, which is after the school year ends. So that's the break between the academic years. So
I see.
lots of breaks. And then there's holidays sprinkled kind of throughout the year as well. If anybody's familiar with Malaysia, Malaysia has lots of
holidays.
Sometimes it feels like every week, oh, there's a celebration. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Because there are different ethics groups. Then they try to honor every ethics celebrations of their traditions.
Yeah, it's great. It's really great. I mean, you learn so much. Like, oh, what's that about? And then you start doing some research and you find out some stuff. And then RAS, because we're an American school, we also celebrate some American holidays like American Thanksgiving.
That's great.
Since there are different like ethnic groups, would there be any like compulsory on the religious studies?
Oh, no, of course not. We do respect all cultures and religions, but on campus, we try to keep things secular. So we never, encourage any kind of stuff like that, any religious studies, unless it has to do with, social studies, like learning about like the origins of Christianity and Islam and Buddhism, stuff like that, but never like a formal religious study kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, last question we got is like with your RAS program, how would it bridge to US or other international universities?
So you're asking about the RAS curriculum compared to like the US curriculum?
Yes, if they want to further their studies, like
if they want
to the US or other countries.
University level study. Okay, so when you graduate from RAS, Raffles American School, you get a US high school diploma. Okay. And then we'll also be offering the IB diploma. Okay, so you'll graduate with the US high school diploma or the IB diploma. So the US high school diploma is recognized all throughout the United States, and I would say every school in the world as qualification to enter university. So when we finish high school in the US, we go straight on to university. There's no university prep course. There's no in between. We just go from high school to university. So once they have that, they will be qualified to enter any university. And if they want to go to a university in the US, they're at an even greater advantage because the US, of course, recognizes high school diplomas from US schools. And also we have the AP offerings here, the AP program, and those classes will be counted as university credit as long as the student achieves a high enough score on the AP exam. So they can enter universities, and the universities will look for these things. Like, oh, they took 1 AP class or 3 AP classes. And they'll not only look at that as an advantage, but they'll take that and add it to their academic record so that they're starting school with classes already completed.
Okay, cool.
Carrie, I know that the time is running out, but I still got one very important question here. James, sorry about that.
No.
Since English is not our native language, so how would you help the Hong Kong students to get into the school, the English class, and so on and so forth?
Oh, I've met lots of Hong Kong people with great English. I don't know what you guys are talking about. So actually, that's a great question because we have students from all over the world, of course, and especially students from like mainland China and South Korea and Japan. Their English abilities are usually not that high. So when they enter our school, it really depends on their age. If they're younger students, like lower elementary school students, they're usually able to get that language acquisition faster than the older students because they just pick up languages, like picking up toys. They catch on. It's crazy. I've seen kindergarten kids come in, don't even know their ABCs. And by, halfway through the school year, they're talking with their friends about
nonstop
cartoons or
not
whatever.
Listening to the teacher.
It's wild. So that's the ideal situation. But then of course you have the older kids that, for them learning a new language is a lot harder. So we have a separate program, the English Immersion Program. So basically we will have an English assessment for all our kids coming in from countries that do not have English as their native language. So based on this assessment, we would place them either in the English Immersion Program or in the mainstream program with ELL support. So they'll have an ELL support teacher who will either come into their classroom and support their learning, or they'll have separate time outside of the classroom with that teacher to have some one-on-one kind of extra coaching and some English assistance. So the English Immersion Program, that is when the students just go into a separate program altogether and they just focus on learning academic English. So they'll learn about math, science, and English, but mainly focused on the English of those subjects, not the actual subject matter. So maybe they will learn about in math class, what does addition mean? What does subtraction mean? Because a lot of these kids, they know what those things mean. They just don't know the English words for them. So they'll learn all those academic terms so that when they enter the mainstream classroom, their teacher says, you know, what's 1 + 1? Of course, the kid knows what 1 + 1 is, but they don't understand the English way of saying that. So they're having that program, then they'll understand those terms and they can easily assimilate to the mainstream classrooms.
Yeah, I think that this would be really helpful because I have two kids. My elder one actually flew out all English native school, and then she could, you know, handle very well. And of course also because she's a girl, it's easier for her. And then for my son would experience those questions you've just mentioned. 1 + 1, he doesn't know how to express in English. He knows in his own language, but then he takes time. So I think the English immersing program would be very important for you know, non-native English speakers. And I have very last questions before we round up this section. Actually, if RAS from K to 12 could secure an easier ticket for the university, RAS university, would it be easier to be qualified and admitted?
Well, I mean, if you're asking if we give special treatment to RAS graduates, I don't think that they would ever do that. But when you graduate from RAS, you definitely have an advantage over a student that graduated from another school because we're very familiar with your academic background. We know exactly what you've been doing. We know what classes, we know what you're capable of. Whereas when we get transcripts from a school we're not familiar with, we have to take a closer look and we have to scrutinize a little bit more. Whereas RAS University or Raffles University, they can just call us up and be like, hey, this student applied to our school. You know, what do you know about it? And we can tell them directly like, oh yeah, we know the student, this is how they are, this is what they've done here. And I would say it's much smoother going into Raffles University from our school. Yeah.
That's good. Thank you so much, James.
Thanks a lot.
You've been very helpful and knowledgeable. So if we have further questions, we'll transfer to you and seek for your advice so that the parents could make smarter choice best for their kids and, you know, leverage the qualification as well as the, you know, beautiful environment of RAS in Johor. Thank you.
Sounds great. Yep, my pleasure. I love answering questions.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Have a great wow day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.